And I showed my little setup, my pieces and parts in a video before. So this is an old sink that we bought for, I think, $5 or $6, $7. And where the hole is going down right there, there's a bucket sitting up under there to catch the honey that runs through. And I just made my little board here to hold these frames standing up in here. We have our extractor here. And then when we take them out, we're just going to set them over there. You've seen me use this before.
Oh, our frames.
To put frames out into a spring where we had froze some frames that had some nectar in them. And I set the frames in there outside for let the bees come get the honey, rob the honey out. So after we get them out of here, and we'll set them over there before we take them outside.
Since this is our first time, this is just the first time, and we'll figure out if this flow works or not.
Yeah, I didn't want to spend, $400 for a decapping tank for the amount of honey that we're expecting to get.
Yeah, today we have, what, 7 frames?
I got 7 frames right now, but I've got 3 hives here.
1 at Jean's.
1 at Jean and 2 at John's. Yeah. That we need to go pull. So these 7 is what I took out of 2 hives. Now, if it was a little bit later in the year, I might would have pulled 1 more frame out of those hives, but we're still a little bit early in our area. But I wanted to pull some of these on out and get started on it. I was really surprised when I went into hives at the amount of brood in there, because this is after Labor Day. We're a little after the summer solstice, and I thought the amount of brood would be pretty low. Well, they had a lot of brood, so they're still making lots of bees.
So we wanted to be sure and leave them enough honey to sustain the colony.
And as they hatch out, they'll backfill those frames that are there with honey. So I'm not really worried about them not having anywhere to lay. But the population is still really high in the 2 hives that we went into. It kind of blew me away that there were still that many bees in the hives. Last year, we lost a bunch of frames
of honey
because we had waited too late to go, and the number of bees in the frame in the hive had already diminished enough that there was not enough bees to protect the honey that was in there. There just wasn't enough bees to cover all the frames, and the hive beetles got into some of it. And already had hive beetle larvae in there. Well, those frames you don't really want to eat that honey. But that's the ones I froze. And I was able to feed those back to the bees this spring. And it really helped my bees make it through the spring. We had
early part of this spring, late winter, early spring.
Yeah, we had some 75, several 70, 75 degree days in January, which is very uncommon for us. So the bees had broke cluster and they were out flying. Well, there's nothing blooming at that time. So they're out burning energy with nothing to bring back in. So it was great that I had those frames froze. When I saw what was going on, I just pulled them out of the freezer and set them out in the sunshine. And as they got thawed out enough, the bees wore them out because they were starving. And it kept, not necessarily starving, but they were
hungry.
They were hungry and knew that they needed to be pulling resources into the hive. And it kept them from actually starving, in March before everything started blooming out.
And that's a beautiful frame of honey right there.
Yeah, and this is, like I said a while ago, some of these, you know, they would just up and down a little bit at the bottom. Some of them were all the way. This one, you see, there wasn't anything attached to the very bottom, so it was up and down a little bit. So I just cut that part off.
And that was uncapped.
That was uncapped down there. And don't think it went to waste.
No, we shared that.
Yeah, we shared that with some friends and told them, you know, just go ahead and eat it in the next few weeks. And, you know, if you put nectar that's not drawn down enough, you put a lot of it in your honey, it could spoil your honey. But there's nothing wrong with eating that nectar right out of there. Just don't wait too long and let it get ferment. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these scraped down, decapped. Trying to put most of my cappings in this little steamer type thing here and try to catch some of the cappings before it gets down into the bucket down below. It's just a little
strainer.
I think it was a steamer to come from the dollar or the thrift shop. It's got holes in it. So just kind of set it there and put the cappings in so that they'll drain in or drain the honey out of it a little bit. You can see in here, you see all the nectar in that part there?
Yes, all down in here. That's uncapped honey or nectar. Yeah.
But I'm thinking the percentage wise, I don't think that's enough to really hurt.
If we were real concerned about it, we would get a refractometer to test the moisture content, but I really don't think it's enough.
Yeah, and our bee club up in Allegheny County, North Carolina, has a refractometer that we could use. We found one fairly cheap a couple of years ago. Somebody was getting out and sold it to us really inexpensively. So the club bought it, and it gets passed around up there as people do their extracting. They used to be very expensive. I don't know how good the ones from China are that you can buy on Amazon, but they probably work good enough for a hobby beekeeper. Also, the club has a small extractor. So if you're getting into bees, your local bee chapter can help you out. We have some very experienced beekeepers up in the mountains. Now, I'm the only one up there in our club that's doing the laying hives, but we do have a friend that was in the club, and he got out because they were not having the success they wanted and having to buy bees all the time. And they ran into Dr. Leo's book and read up and studied up, and that's West over at Secure Acres. He has a good YouTube channel, and West bought one of Dr. Leo's presses, and he does cut and strain. So he cuts all his comb out and puts it in that press and presses his honey out and then strains it, and that works very good. I just want to save the comb And that's the only disadvantage of the press is your bees have to start all over next year. So I'll be able to spin this out, hopefully. And then the bees don't have to work as hard next season. They'll have to build the comb thicker where I'm, knocking a little bit off the top of the comb. But it won't take them near as much energy to do that. So it kind of gives the bees a head start not having to make comb. I've never seen this done in person. We've watched videos. So what I'm doing is kind of spinning it a little slow on one side. And I'm probably going to turn them around. This extractor for this type frame, it only spins the outside, then you turn them around. I'll spin some out of the other side, and then I'll go ahead and start spinning it faster and try to get all of it out of one side, then turn them back around again. But I want to get some of the weight off of the frames so that it's not pulling on the comb so bad.
So we're trying to salvage the comb.
Yeah.
If we can.
Yeah, I don't want to sling the comb out of the frame, and a couple of them, one of them where it had laid down doesn't look as secure as the others. So I'm going to let that drip down while I'm working on these, and we'll turn them around and do the other side.
Okay.
So this is our very first honey coming out of the extractor. We have a 600 mesh screen here. And if you look in there, you can see all kind of little particles. There's going to be wax in there. There might be a bee leg or a wing in there and stuff like that. And that's probably all the straining will do to our honey. None of that stuff will hurt you. So after it goes through there, I think it's probably clean enough. We do have a finer screen if we decide to use it.
See what it looks like.
We'll see what it looks like.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. Our very first honey from the extractor. Yay! This is the first frame we've taken out of the extractor, and looks like it did a really good job. It's really light. It's not nearly as heavy as it was when it went in, and looks like we spun out.
And this is the one that looked like it might break off in there, and it managed to spin out without breaking off.
Yeah.
That was the one I was really worried about.
Okay.
So we're going to set them over here.
Just until we finish, and then we'll put them out in the yard for the bees to clean them out. If there's anything left, is that what we're going to do with them, or I don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah, we may go ahead and open up the hives here today and pull frames out of them. And I might want to stick one or two of these in. Some of the, if they don't look like they got enough room, I could put one of these frames in so that they would have somewhere to, because they're still bringing in stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So second load's going in?
Yeah. And I don't know if they're supposed to go in upside down or.
Why don't you try these right side up?
But I'm going to do them upside down.
Okay.
Just the way. I'll ask somebody later if I'm doing this wrong. Or if you've done this, you can tell us that I did it wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody with experience, y'all tell us what we're doing wrong. Because we are definitely learning as we go.
Now this extractor here, we can buy a basket for it and make a 9-frame Langstroth extractor. It's the same extractor, it's just a basket, only different.
It smells so good in here, y'all. You just wouldn't believe it.
And I have to keep reminding Shirley to stop licking her fingers because she's diabetic. And every time I look, she's licking her fingers.
I'm cleaning my hands in the bucket of water.
I'm just fat. I'm not diabetic, so I can lick my fingers.
Y'all, it tastes good. This is some good honey. Crank it up.
Now she's just flaying in the honey.
I'm working on the cappings, getting them in this little bowl so they can go through the first strain. Okay, maybe I am playing in a little bit.
So you got one of our bags over here? Yeah.
I do, yeah.
So, you talk about those?
So we have these strainers, and these are actually paint strainers. You can get them at Lowe's or Home Depot or any place that sells paint. They come 2 in a pack, and we use those to strain the cappings through, and it works really nicely to just fill up the little mesh bag. I mean, it's just a little mesh bag. It's not quite as fine as cheesecloth, but it's pretty fine. And it's a bag. And you just put your cappings in it and then keep it suspended over your bucket with a strainer
So what we
for a bit.
So what we did last year when we cut and strained everything is we put everything in there.
Yeah, it's a bag, a mesh bag.
And then tied it at the top, and I actually used a paint roller handle, I think, and put across there.
Yeah.
And just left it suspended, and every couple days or every day I would twist it and squeeze it.
Squeeze it a little bit more.
Squeeze it, and I think we
probably got another quart of honey out of the cappings.
Yeah.
Maybe from last year, and we didn't have nearly this much. I mean, we've already extracted more honey today than we did all last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's one of the options for straining your comb, your bits of comb, so that you can get all the good honey out of it. And I don't remember how much they were. They might have been $4 or $5. I don't know.
They weren't much. But this extractor here, the way it's built, if you had 3 of these partially full, you could put it in here and spin, and it would probably help spin that out too.
Spin it out, yep.
So we'll use these. That stuff will go in here. I'm going to let it drain a little more right there.
So it's actually going through 2 strainers here. The first one, it's got kind of big holes in it. The one underneath that's on top of the bucket has a little bit smaller holes in it. And then if we need to strain it even more,
we'll pour it through that strainer.
We'll pour it through our honey strainer that we actually got from the bee supply store, Miller Bee Supply. So we're wrapping up our honey extraction. We have one of our buckets straining into the last bucket there with the metal strainers on it. We figure we probably got 7 to 7.5 gallons of honey, and that's pretty good. Our setup seemed to work well for us. Our honey extractor worked great that we got from Miller Bee Supply. You've seen that on a previous video. These are the cappings out of our decapping process, and we have those wrapped up just in these paint strainer bags that you can get from any home improvement store, any place that sells paint. And from our experience from last year, we're expecting probably to get about another pint out of these. These will sit there and drain for 2 or 3 more days. And you can see we've just got them in a pan that's elevated. And we'll just let gravity work on those and drain out any remaining honey. Once we finish with getting everything drained out that we can, we'll hang those bags up under the shed, and the honeybees will come and collect any additional honey that drips out or seeps out. So everything's looking good as we've been cleaning up our equipment. We've been taking it outside for the bees to clean up. So I'm going to take you out there and let you see the real cleaning crew at work. So as we finished up with our different extracting equipment, we've been bringing it out here for the honeybees to clean up. And as you can see, they are hard at work. The extractor is almost completely clean. We set it out here late yesterday afternoon, as is that cooler. Those are the frames that we actually extracted the honey from, and the bees are getting any residual honey that we weren't able to get out in the process. They're collecting that. And over here you can see our strainers. Our decapping tank worked great. That was a thrift store find, and it worked great. I think we paid $5 for that stainless steel sink that we set on some sawhorses. Worked wonderfully. And you can see the girls cleaning up the residual honey off of that. And this is some of the honeycomb that we had collected that looked like it may have had some small hive beetles and some wax moth larvae, and so we didn't try to extract that. We've left it for the honeybees, and so they're working on that. And you can see our whole backyard is just very busy with activity from the bees, who are cleaning up all this honey. They'll take it back to their hives, and it'll help sustain them through the winter. So nothing is wasted. The bees will collect everything up, and it'll be spick and span clean. Probably by this time tomorrow, everything will be cleaned up, and I can actually take the dishes in the house and wash them. But there won't be honey to clean up because the bees are taking care of that. So that pretty much wraps up our extraction process. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.